or anything, just okay. So just relax your body as much as you can. And just to give you a little background, I got this meditation. It's from William Bloom, who some of you may have heard of, who teaches meditation. And I rather like this script, so I've slightly adapted it, but I find it very useful. So just sitting back and just breath settle to a comfortable rhythm, and gently close your eyes. And as best you can, allow your body to sink down and be at ease. This should feel like after a good meal, where you're sitting in your favorite chair, or you're sitting in a cafe, comfortably watching the world go by, or out in nature after a walk and enjoying the view. Your body knows how to be at ease. Just let it drop down. Just move your toes slightly. Notice how your back feels on your chair or your cushion. You can also feel the texture of your clothes against your skin, and the texture of the chair, padding, or your cushion, and beneath them, the floor. Let your stomach and abdomen drop and sink. And now just take 3 or 4 soft, silken, long, quiet breaths. Completely quiet. Down into your stomach. Soften the eyes. Have a kind, good-humoured softness in your eyes. And let your heart be warm and open. Now you know that mood and attitude of compassion and care that you give to a vulnerable creature. Like when a toddler has fallen and is crying, and you bend down to care for their grazed knee. Feel that mood of caring and compassion. Turn your awareness down into your own body and give your own body that same care and compassion. Soft eyes, soft breath, warm, open heart. Just be aware now of your breath, your face, your eyes relaxed, feeling totally at ease, the heart open. I'm ready now to join in on our meeting. And so when you're ready, you can gently open the eyes, and maybe you need to move or stretch, you can. And gently and slowly coming out of the meditation. You're muted, Gina.
It's the word of the year. Can you unmute yourself? That's, that's a lovely primer. Thank you, Cora. And now we're going to have a session led by Britt Tanya. Britt is a consciousness coach and trainer for the last 10 years. And she actually has founded a ConsciousCafe group, I think Bath or Bristol or both in the past. She runs gratitude groups. Her passion is helping people shift from the egoic state to a conscious aware state. So it's completely in line with the work of ConsciousCafe. And she's passionate, as many of us are, about being part of this shift in consciousness, which she does in her professional work. She's a Ho'oponopono practitioner. She has a number of online courses, and she's going to lead us in a session now about gratitude and share her work. So Britt, welcome, and over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the lovely introduction, Gina, and happy birthday to ConsciousCafe. And thanks so much, Judy, for bringing all of this to all of us. And I just want to say, you know, watching and feeling all the introductions, it's just such a beautiful space. The people that come to ConsciousCafe, the people that are drawn to this space, it feels so light and such wonderful. It's lovely. So thank you. I am going to share a slide that I've prepared for you. Actually, there we go. But before I start, I thought I'd just share with you my journey into gratitude. I knew for quite a long time that gratitude was something that was important on sort of a conscious journey and becoming self-aware. And I would say that I was generally fairly grateful in my life as it was. But a couple of years ago, I was moving house, and both of my sons, one was doing GCSEs and one was doing A-levels. So I knew that I had to hold the space for them during the move, to make sure that everything was, you know, the transition was smooth and that they weren't too shaken by what we were doing. And to support myself in keeping that space, I started a gratitude group on Facebook. And I thought that if I was lucky, I might get 5, maybe 10 if I was really lucky, people, close friends that would join me. But it kind of exploded. And we had, I think, close to 600 people ended up in this group, which meant that after the sort of month that I was going to just do it for, I kind of felt like I needed to carry on doing it because there were so many people involved. And that's really what got me onto this journey. And I'm so grateful that I ended up doing it. But it was something that was accidental, but it's turned into so much more. But before I sort of go into the actual gratitude journey, sort of deepening of gratitude, I just want to share with you these slides that I've made to understand what gratitude really is. So, as Gina said, I help people shift from the egoic state into this conscious self-aware state. And just so that I can, sorry, I'm just moving all my little people, pictures are sitting over my slide. So the egoic state to me is the survival state. It's where we get our human needs met. And it's where most of us, whether we want to or not, spend a lot of time. And in this state, we react to things externally from us. It's where there's pain and hurt and self-doubt and blame and uncertainty. There's separation, there's them and me, and it's very much in the control of the subconscious. It's where beliefs and programs and triggers and all of that stuff lives. And our conscious self-aware state is, the ego state as well is ruled by fear. So anytime you feel any kind of fear, then you tend to be drawn into the survival mode and the egoic state. The conscious self-aware state, surprisingly enough, is all about love. And it's the realization of self as source, that we are the creators of our world. And the things that you will generally find in the conscious self-aware state are abundance, intuition, creativity, infinite potential, synchronicity. And I've sort of drilled it down. There's a lot more in both states than what I've actually shared here, but just so that you can get a flavour of what it really is. And what I do is I help people shift from one to the other. And gratitude and ConsciousCafe are some of the tools that you can use to help make that shift. So there's many things. There's mindfulness, there's being present, meditation, as we did with Cora. All of these things help us shift from the egoic state into the conscious self-aware state. And I just thought it's really interesting to understand that and know that. I'm going to, actually no, I'm not going to stop sharing. I'll leave it because there's a slide after this that we'll do at the end, but I must keep an eye on the time. So going back to my journey with gratitude, when I first started doing it, what I decided was that every day I would try and find 5 new things to be grateful for. And when I started, it was a real effort to remember. But because I had the group that I was part of, and because I was leading it, I had to make sure that I kind of went through the day and had to remember it and post and interact with people. So it was a really great incentive. But as I went along, what I realized is that the brain, our mind, is generally trained to look for problems and issues. Because when we're in our egoic survival state, we need to be aware of things that are going wrong. So it tends to try to find those things without us really making an effort. But when you start focusing on gratitude and you start training it to find, for me, it was 5 new things every day to be grateful for, it starts seeking out things to be grateful for all on its own. And before long, I would find myself driving along and just being in awe of the world around me, not by consciously trying to do it, but because my brain had now realized that what I wanted it to do was to seek out things to be grateful for. And one of the things I also realized about it is that you can be grateful in sort of like a verbal noise in your mind. So I could sit there at the end of the day and kind of scan back over my day and go, oh my goodness, I've got to find 5 things to be grateful for. And I'd sit there and go, okay, well, I'm grateful for the supper I had, and I'm grateful for the conversation I had with my son. And I'd kind of reel them all off. But that didn't really shift my energy. And I found that when I played around with it, to actually really experience gratitude was to be really present in the moment with the things that I was grateful for. So it was taking time. For me, a lot of it happened when I was walking out in nature or when I was driving along, to actually just really appreciate like the sunlight coming down through the leaves, not just to tick it off to say it's one of my 5 grateful things, but to really sit in the moment of it and the energy of it. And I just found that the more I did it, the more I went through life more smoothly, the more insights and inspiration I got, the more magical things would happen in my life, like being invited onto ConsciousCafe to talk about gratitude, which I never would have dreamt would have happened when I started my tiny little group to support me when doing my move. And I just think that it is an incredibly powerful tool, but that to make the most of it, it's to make it a daily practice and not just make it a mental list that you go and tick off at the end of the day, but learn to really sit in the moments of gratitude that you find throughout the day, which you will find throughout the day if you actually take the time to focus on them and to allow them in. And we're nearly done, but I think there's one thing that I would like to share with you as well about gratitude, is if you're using it to become more conscious and self-aware, or you're using it as an abundance tool, which some people do, there's something you can do to amplify it. And I've talked about sort of being there in the moment, but in being there in the moment, you can almost, you feel it somewhere in your body. It'll be different for each person. But if you're there and you're focusing on it, you can actually imagine it expanding out throughout your entire body. And if you sit with it and you allow it to expand, it can actually go, and you almost picture it going right down into your fingertips and down into your toes and into every single cell in your body, and almost expanding out into the whole of your energetic field and even further beyond. And when you do that, you amplify the sensation of gratitude within you. And I think it is Abraham Hicks that talk about holding a state for more than 27 seconds. And that when you do that, you then attract more and more of those things into your experience. So I think I've done my 10 minutes. I'm going to click the slide and go on to the next slide, which is our 2 questions that we're posing to everybody who's here in this birthday party with us, that you're going to take off into your individual groups. Now, the questions are very similar. The first one is, what would change for you if you were grateful for everything in your life? So what would change for you if you were grateful for everything in your life? And the next question is, what would need to change for you to be grateful for everything in your life? So very similar, but very different questions. And just either make a note of them, take a screenshot, take a photograph on your phone so that you've got them in front of you when we go into the groups. And I'm going to hand over to Gina now.
Great. Britt, are you going to leave those questions up while I talk?
If you want me to, yeah.
Okay, all right then. So I'm going to remove you from Spotlight and then let's see what people can see. So there's 24 of us. We're going to be 4 in a group. And I'm going to put you into breakout groups and hopefully everybody, so we'll have 6. And I think the plan is for you to get into your group with 4. You have 5 minutes each to present. Select someone in your group to be a timekeeper, to use a smartphone to do 5 minutes. That's 4 times 5. So that gives 5 minutes either side, in a sense, to get into your conversation, think about what you might be saying, and then 5 minutes to round up. You're not giving a report back, so you don't have to worry about that. Just to enjoy the experience of talking about gratitude. So we have 30 minutes and my clock says 17:32. So just after 6, I'll give everybody a 1-minute warning. And I'm now going to put you all in the group as a chat. Here's everybody. Okay, so breakout groups, here we come. Hopefully everybody's happy. Assign. Great. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 6 breakout rooms and 4 create. Okay, lovely. Open all rooms. Okay. And I'm going to join the one that's got 3. Okay, I'm going to join the one that's got 3. Everybody's in them. Join room 6.
Welcome to, oops. I just want to say welcome to the people who've joined us. Welcome to Mila. I don't think we've met Mila before.
Hi, I can hear you. I can't get my camera correct.
As long as you're there and you can hear us, that's great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I'm unspotlighting you, Judy, remove spotlight. So am I inviting Britt back? Where's Britt?
I don't think you need to invite me back.
Okay. Okay.
Moving on to sort of sharing amongst everybody, aren't we now?
Okay, so our invitation is for anybody to share. What did I write down? I don't know what I wrote down now. Anyway, does anybody feel moved to share anything? Oh yeah, what has come up for you that you might like to share? That's what I wrote down. Good job I wrote it down, isn't it? Yeah, well, yeah, so popcorn, anybody put your hand up or speak. I don't think everybody will speak at once. And mute yourself. So yeah, what might come up that you'd like to share with people on this lovely, glorious June the 12th, sunny day?
I say something? Gina?
Yeah.
Okay, just to say, the thing that would need to change, I felt, if I was going to be grateful for everything in my life, would be myself, my state of awareness, my state of consciousness. And when I got to that state, I would just be if I was grateful for everything, you know, be in a total state of bliss, totally in the present, aware of everything. But that's the ultimate goal.
Wow.
Yeah. Something that, you know, being in a ConsciousCafe event for myself always helps me be. in community with like-minded people. I'm going to take another screenshot. Yeah, anybody else want to share what came up for them? Yeah, Anne, share.
Just to put a bit of humour into it, I suppose, one of the things I really battle, is with call centres. And my blissful moment will be when I do not get irritated or angry or upset by the response of people on call centres. I do feel they're my big test. They're my big test. And that's when I know when I can completely cope with every call centre that takes me anywhere in the world and ignores me and cuts me off and does all the things that call centres do, including most likely BT, then I know I will have reached the point of complete gratitude for everything, even call centres. I'll have nailed it then.
Well done.
Great.
Turn on original sound. Okay. Judy, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What 10 years ago, in the time when you were setting this up, I'm trying to think myself back to what the consciousness was at the time, because you and I have been, as a number of others here have for years, in this growing movement. What did you think it would be like in 10 years' time when you thought about Conscious Cafe, bringing people together for these conversations? What did you see would happen? How did you see it coming about that we've grown in this 10 years? What was your vision?
Oh, thank you for the question, Gina. One of the things that I am really grateful for is that I don't have a lot of imagination. And one of the things I struggled with when I was a publisher was having a vision for the company. So when I was a publisher, my vision was that we just produce lots of books that really meant something to people, and we would sell them all over the world. And it was as simple as that. And at the time, this was the 90s, when vision became popular, and many of you will have worked in companies where people sat around spending whole days working on their visions. And I was never very good at it. And some people create wonderful visions, and I was always quite envious. So when I started Conscious Cafe 10 years ago, I didn't really see beyond the next couple of months when I might ask more people to come and join in and have a conversation. But after we'd been going 3 or 4 years, I asked if anybody wanted to join with me in looking ahead towards the future, and a few people put their hands up and volunteered. We had some meditations at different times to create a vision. And the vision was that we would have several groups. In fact, we would have so many groups that they would reach beyond the horizon. And each group would be separate, but would be linked with other groups. So as far as that vision goes, we have a few groups, but we have many people who've come and enjoyed Conscious Cafe. So I think we still have a lot of work to do.
And it's interesting, Judy, over this last year, when we were suddenly in March last year, suddenly all our community meetings, and so many of us would be in rooms together in community talking, that was removed from us. And then we went online, and it's become a new world since then. And speaking for myself and maybe some of the other Conscious Cafe hosts who've experienced Conscious Cafe and gone on to have our own groups, we got closer. It's interesting because that technology brought us together. It brought us together, and I don't know, it's created I think an interesting foundation for expansion. Definitely missing the in-person groups, and I'm looking forward to having those again. But I think horizons, I think something shifted in the last year in terms of everybody's horizons and an appetite for having conversations that matter, because people have been facing all sorts of issues about life and asking themselves different questions. And unless you have somebody to talk to about that, I think you can get frustrated. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on anything. I'm just going to do the big view and I can see the gallery. Karen?
Yeah, Gina, I was just going to really echo what you just said, because I think
you know, over the last few years, and yes, I think it's been interesting how Zoom has enabled us to have these intimate conversations and grow closer to certain people. And I think also that this environment has become increasingly important, whilst the outside world that is less conscious, shall we say, has become increasingly polarized. And so it feels as though we need to be, to create safe spaces that are expanding that energy of the consciousness and being able to discuss things that are difficult in I was going to say safe environment, but it's more than that. It's in an environment of love and respect and understanding that, you know, we might have different opinions or different views, and that's okay. And I think that is part of the value of ConsciousCafe and this kind of environment, that it proves it can be done. And it would be wonderful for it to just roll out more and more and more into the outside world to make a real shift.
Yeah, I agree, Karen. And I've always said to Judy that the ConsciousCafe is a great place to train people to listen, when in normal life, there really isn't a place that trains people to listen. You don't go to a therapist to learn to listen. Soap operas and you know, dramas that you see, and political discourse on the television that, you know, is often the background commentary that educates people. Nobody's listening there, they're jumping in. So this is the wonderful thing about ConsciousCafe, having somebody listen to what you're saying and giving you that space. And I'm now going to open the space up. Anybody else wants to share? Yeah, Marion. Unmute yourself, Marion. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, actually, from the conversation, it was just beautiful. Actually, yeah, from the very beginning, the meditation just put us in such a lovely connected state. And we were obviously a wonderful group. And what I'd like to share is that sense, you know, with the first question, what would change if we were, or if I was grateful for absolutely everything in my life, is that I feel like I'd be more fully in life and I'd experience everything to sort of an expanded degree, because gratitude has this sense of, I feel like it's an expander. You know, if we're grateful for one flower, suddenly, you know, it just fills our awareness, and it is such a beautiful feeling. So I loved the question, and I think it's this sense of being more fully in life and more relaxed about things. That's one specifically for me, and just being able to savor all of life more.
Beautiful. Really powerful thing that Britt shared with us. Tamara, you want to share? Unmute yourself.
Thank you, Gina. Yes, Brett's meditation included the word, I think it was it this one? Or somebody, Cora's meditation, used the word kind, and William Bloom's meditation. I've got most of his stuff. I attended many workshops with him at Gaunt's house years ago, and also at St. James's. Probably some of you did as well.
Yeah.
Just, he's a lovely, lovely presence and energy. Somebody's camera is zooming around all over the place. Is that Mila? You've got your camera.
Yes, I'm trying to.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, what I was going to say there was,
I thought you'd finished, sorry.
Kindness.
The power of kindness. You were linking it with gratitude to the meditation that Cora was doing. William.
Yes, I was, and there was something. Yeah. Just give me a second or two. I think out there has been it's been so stimulating for me what's been going on in various ways out there, and I've been, as Judy knows, campaigning, and a very campaigny sort of voice, and very challenging lots of things that are apparently very acceptable out there in the world, and Judy sort of reprimands me from time to time. Thank you, Judy, but just reminds me. But also, I've been so grateful for that, because what it's done is actually put me back in touch with my ancestor heritage. All of my ancestors came from various refugees from one side or another side, and from various refugee stock, all of them, my mother's and my father's ancestors. And it's put me back in touch with that. And I've been also working with the archives of the family and all the writings that they had. And there's a book written in America 30 years ago about this young man in Russia. And did anybody know anything about him? And for some reason, this person or my daughter contacted each other and found my father as a 16-year-old being described by somebody in this woman's book who knew nothing about him, and said, "Who is this young man called Basil?" That was my dad. And so things like that have been amazingly sort of connecting in my life. And I've got all these papers, and I'm gradually sort of working through them and having somebody help me with the archives. And so what angered me and upsets me and stimulates me to challenge out there is actually challenging my lethargy and my apathy and my avoidance tactics. I'm grateful for that too. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, Tamara. I'm going to just go back to the gallery. Debbie, you're waving. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I'd like to thank Britt very much for an excellent 10 minutes, because it really made me think, as my little group know, because I explained how much gratitude is part of my everyday life for all the wonderful things. But your questions made me really think about what would be different in my life if I was even grateful for when things go wrong, when I've got problems, challenges, difficult people causing me angst. And that would be a leap forward for me in consciousness if I could be grateful for that and say, this person is here in my life to teach me something. What is it? Or I'm going to keep repeating the lesson, I think, as they say, or this situation, what can I be grateful for in this situation? What is it teaching me? What am I learning from it? How am I growing from it? And that is just such a question for me tonight, that is, take me in another realm about gratitude and consciousness and the growth of my consciousness. So I'm very grateful for that, Britt. I really found that a very deep question that I haven't even got the answer to, but I know it's very deep or high. Thank you very much.
It's great when you can't find the answer to the question. It shows you the power of the question, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to take that away and think about it a lot.
Yeah, it's certainly very... Britt, you're going to respond.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something. I quite often use questions like that to help. It's one of the tools to shift from the egoic state into the conscious state. And ideally, you live with those questions for a while. And because I've created the questions and I gave them to Judy most likely about a week ago, I've been thinking about them. So when I go for a walk, and it's amazing what comes to you when you live with those questions. So I love that you're going to take it forward and spend some more time with it. And the lovely thing as well is that if you sit in those questions, the answers don't come from your mind. They come from the universe around you. They'll come from a discussion at ConsciousCafe, or they'll just come from a conversation with somebody else or something you're listening to. So yeah, they're really lovely. And thank you so much for everything you've said, Debbie. Thank you very much.
I'm going to go back to the big view again. Subtle and powerful. I'll tell you how you know what's happening in the popular consciousness. When you go to B&M and home stores and you see these signs with words on, and Asda, when you go into Asda and you can buy that, enjoy every moment, that things are shifting. And there's a lot of the words dream and vision. So we really need the word grateful, don't we? Because I haven't seen that anywhere. So we need to write to Asda on all these home places and say, get the word grateful out there, because people respond to the power of home sweet home and home dream home. People respond to the power of words. Yes, Kenny.
I wondered whether my gratitude of things might come up more when I lose them, because I guess I take so much for granted and I am grateful, but once it's gone, then I notice it. And for me, that's quite similar to, I can't see myself from the outside. I need feedback from the out, because I come from my own perspective. And talking about mainstream consciousness, since lockdown, I've been holding daily on my online men's groups. So people can not only speak about what's going on, but we follow the feeling back to what's being triggered. And that's where maybe there's a broken spirit, there's some pain, there's the depressed pause button of something that's been survived. We were talking about kind of like survival mode in a way, to quote what Britt was saying. And the gratitude that we have learned for the nasties, for the things that have harmed us, that we've survived, and the safety that we have to kind of feel those feelings and meet ourselves in those places. And I feel with the awareness that once I've kind of met my dark shadow, it opens up, I guess it's like alchemy, the equal and opposite, or something in the possibilities in the gold shadow. So it's been a game changer with lockdown for so many, well, in my case, men mainly, meeting the places and maybe stopping being survival boys, meeting that dark shadow and turning things around. So the gratitude for the pain, and it's a new trick for me, being grateful for the pain and not wanting to let go of the sadness until I've had my pound of flesh.
Beautiful.
Interesting.
Thank you, Kenny. I'm going back together.
Wow.
Does somebody else want to comment or share about what a speaker has said just now, or their own experience? Did somebody have a hand up? Yeah, Virginia. You're on mute, so unmute yourself.
Well, this is rather what I was trying to say in the breakout group, but Kenny's put it so clearly and so strongly. I do agree with that. I have found that unless I can really look at the difficult things in my life and my attitudes, that I can't shift to be grateful. It's not possible for me. So I think lockdown, I was trying to say lockdown has changed us. Well, I think it's in that sort of way. It has enabled us to give us the chance to face ourselves more, and to take life more simply. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but I've heard others say the same thing. And that is the positive side of this pandemic. You know, we throw up our hands in horror about all the awful things that happen to people because of it. But on the other hand, I think it is, well, it's to do with this huge shift in world consciousness. And it came up in one of the ConsciousCafe groups about the shift to Aquarius. And we had some astrologers in some of our groups who were speaking about it. There is an enormous thing going on, much bigger than our own personal struggle, of which, of course, we're part. I mean, I find this question almost too big in a way. It needs, for me, it needs taking apart. It's very big, and it's also very simple. So thank you very much, Kenny, for bringing that up so strongly. I'm very grateful.
Thanks, Virginia. Thank you. Great. Okay, we've got our final 5 minutes. Anybody want to share anything? Or what we could do is we could just go around and everybody give a word or a phrase for what you might be taking away from today, either from the point of view of our focus on what Britt brought up of gratitude and or your awareness that Conscious Cafe is ending its first decade or beginning its second decade. It was celebrating that decade. So whatever it is there for you, word of a phrase. So I'm going to go around. Perhaps it's easier if you unmute yourselves and I just call on you. Marianne.
This one? Marianne, yeah, not Marion. Okay, yeah. Oh, well, connection and yeah, feeling really grateful. So thank you. That it felt like beautiful nourishment today. Thank you very much. And thanks, Judy, for creating this wonderful community.
Louise, word or phrase for what you've taken away?
I am taking away delight, gratitude, and connection. Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you. Geraldine.
I'm going to take away the fact that I was in the room with all of you. So thank you to that, and a happy anniversary. And then the reoccurrence of a quote from Fritz Perls, where he said, I am what I am, and I like it. And I think I pass that on to all of you to embrace yourselves and have a wonderful summer.
Beautiful. Thank you. Steve, word or a phrase?
Insights, creativity. Creativity, yeah.
Beautiful. Kenny?
Connection. I feel like it's wonderful to be with old friends, and I feel like I've made some new ones, and this is nourishing.
Lovely. John?
We're not alone. We're all going through very similar things, and learning to accept the dark side and see the benefit in it is key, actually, to the future for everybody, because it will completely transform our whole way of seeing life and people. And everything is a gift. People must really realise or appreciate that. So thank you, Judy. You've done a great job all these years.
Cora?
Yeah, I mean, gratitude obviously is what it's all about, but I think gratitude particularly for meaningful conversations, which I think is so meaningful, deep conversations, really important. So thank you, especially to my group that I was in.
Tamara?
Spontaneity and the repeating message and realization that love is always available in whatever circumstances you find yourself.
Lovely. Marion Stewart.
Heartfelt connection, I think, and for me personally, mindfulness. So maybe being a bit slower and more mindful in my everyday life to incorporate even more gratitude. And gratitude to Judy for everything she's done in the last 10 years and holding on to her vision, and all the people that have helped her to do that too.
Beautiful. Anne?
The love of connecting, sharing and listening, and the power of turning the negative into positive, and huge great gratitude to Judy, who brings and always has brought people together. Whatever she's done, all the work she's ever done, it's always bringing people together. Bless you, Judy.
Beautiful, thank you. Sharon?
Hi. Two words came to my mind. Enjoyable connection. I really enjoyed the discussion in the mini group, the breakout group, and the meditation and the 10-minute talk at the outset. So it's all been very interesting. Thank you.
Beautiful, thanks, Sharon. Linda, word or a phrase for what you took away?
Warmth and connection.
Beautiful.
Very, very much. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Debbie?
Because as I said, I've left very thoughtful tonight by Britt's questions, which I'm going to take away. I'm focusing on something Gina said, which I wrote down. Conscious Cafe is a place for conversations that matter. And that
Yeah,
really,
it's
that
very good.
phrase, conversations that matter, went right there. But yes, that's what we're about. So thank you, Judy, for creating a place for conversations that matter. That is very rare in this world and is much needed. Well done. Thanks, everybody.
Mercedes.
Thank you. Kenny said something about often not appreciating things until they're gone. And I've learned this, you know, from childhood. And what I just wanted to say quickly was what I take away from this group is the joy of being with like-minded people and not having to explain myself fully and not looking too weird. But also that gratitude for me is not mere thanks. Gratitude is something which is breathless. It takes your breath away. You can't speak. You will often cry because words can't cover what it is. And that takes you to the highest levels of frequency.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's lovely. Thank you. Sarah. And you?
Yes, what have I taken away? Just so much, just the simple practice of gratitude, just do it. And it'd be a wonderful vehicle for raising consciousness and just spreading good things to oneself and others. I was very grateful for the lovely conversation I had in our small group. And yes, thank you so much, Judy, for creating Conscious Cafe. Very happy to be here.
Lovely. Thanks, Sarah. Emma, are you with us? You're on mute. We can't see you. Are you coming back? Oh, Emma's gone. Okay. Or has Emma gone? Okay, Emma's gone. Julia. Do we have Julia? A few seconds. Otherwise, I'm going to go to people who haven't spoken, which includes Mila or Mila. I can see.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you unless you're in the form of a basket or a drawer. We can't see the image, but go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, I cannot get this camera to turn around.
I think, yeah, you're pointing at the basket rather than yourself, but we'll imagine. We'll imagine. Go ahead.
Anyway, I am tuning in from Texas, and my takeaway is definitely that we're all in this together, and it's lovely to see people from around the world, and particularly the UK. And so I have a T-shirt, in fact, that has words, "We're all in this together." So that always gives me gratitude to know that we're all the same mind. So thank you.
Lovely, lovely thought. We're all in this together. Thank you. And Karen, you haven't spoken, so yep, Karen, please.
Heartfelt gratitude. I'd like to raise a toast to Judy and to Conscious Cafe and to you, Gina, for holding the baton, and to everybody, because it's just been such a wonderful conversation. And I think what I'm taking away is joy, love and connection. Yorkshire tea. Bubbly.
Virginia, have you done what you're taking away? Can't remember. Did you? Can't remember.
Well, rather in line with what I was saying, talking of gratitude, I think I'm very grateful that we have the possibility to shift, the possibility to learn is an extraordinary thing. Otherwise, we'd all be sort of fossilized old, sticks. But we can, and we do, if we wish to. And what someone said about the love being available to us, that really struck me very much. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Virginia. I think, have we all shared? Is there anybody I've left out other than Judy? Oh, Britt. Yeah, leaving you.
Linda.
Yeah, nearly forgot you.
Linda as well.
Linda.
No, I've had a say. Is it another Linda?
I can't. Yeah, Linda. Yes, I've done. Linda has been.
You've done me. Is there another one?
I've
Another
got Linda, or I have invited Linda. It might be what that's what I'm saying. But Britt, over to you.
Actually, just funnily enough, thinking about what I wanted to share has brought me to a bit of a conclusion, and it's something that I've noticed in Conscious Cafe, how the conversation has its own energy and it sort of always comes up with something quite unique at the end. So what I'm taking away is that gratitude is a choice. And also, funnily enough, from the second question about what came up for me was almost the dissolving of resistance. And what I've realised is that gratitude is the mechanism to dissolve the resistance. So that is what I'm taking away. And thank you all so much for the light and the connection and the expansion that you all bring. And thank you to Judy and to Gina very, very much. Thanks very much.
And now I think that we should have the final word from Judy. I'm going to spotlight you, Judy. Judy, I don't know what you feel, how you feel, not just after this session, but hearing people talk about this last decade. How are you feeling?
Well, I want to say I'm very grateful to Britt. Britt, you posed 2 really excellent questions today and gave us an insight into thinking about gratitude in a much more expanded way than perhaps many of us are used to. So I really want to thank you for your presentation, Britt, and I want to thank you for the support you've given to Conscious Cafe over the years, and it's always lovely meeting up. I've put Britt's website onto the chat, and in a second I'll ask, or Gina will ask, Britt if she'd just like to tell us where her Facebook page is, in case anybody wants to join it. I want to say a massive thank you to Gina, who works so hard on behalf of Conscious Cafe and is the best host and so easy to deal with when it comes to technology. And I want to thank my Conscious Cafe colleagues who are here today, Cora and Marianne and Debbie and Emma and Gina, of course, who runs our Skipton group, and Anne, who runs our wonderful New Forest group. And I hope I've included everybody. I want to thank all of you, because the one thing I've learned about conversation is that unless you are feeling a little bit crazy, you cannot have a conversation on your own. And the reason that Conscious Cafe has so much meaning for everybody is because we can have such good conversations with one another. And I thank everybody for their ability to be so open and often so vulnerable, in order that other people can share and learn from each other's experiences. So thank you to all of you. And I'm the most grateful one because I've got Conscious Cafe in my life all the time. Thank you.
Wonderful. And finally, Marianne Hartley volunteered to lead a birthday. Happy birthday song, didn't you?
I did. I might as well
Happy birthday.
just hold my word. Okay.
Cafe, so
you feel free to join in. So unmute yourselves.
Yeah, get ready.
And happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear
Conscious
Cafe. Happy
birthday
to you.
So here's to everybody raising our glasses to the next 10 years.
Yeah, indeed.